Every empire is born with a fatal flaw, the delusion of eternity. Its monuments scream permanence. Its legions promise invincibility. But history is a graveyard of immortals. Their stories are not tragedies. They are blueprints, manuals on how to dismantle the impossible. Today, we perform an autopsy on 3 giants, each felled by a specific lethal mechanism. A slow poison, a biological firestorm, and a technological hammer blow. Our first subject, Rome. For centuries, the Roman eagle didn't just fly, it hunted. Its war machine turned kingdoms into provinces. Its roads were the arteries of a continent. So how do you kill something that vast? You don't attack the skin, you poison the blood. The story of barbarians at the gate is a myth. The truth is uglier. Rome committed suicide. The poison was economic. To pay for a bloated state and the loyalty of its legions, the emperors began to cheat. They took the silver denarius, the spine of the economy, and slowly mixed it with copper. Under Marcus Aurelius, the coin was nearly pure silver. By the mid-3rd century, it was a copper slug dipped in a silver wash, a literal lie you could rub off with your thumb. This wasn't just inflation, it was the death of trust. The soldier on the Rhine, paid in worthless metal, knew his service was a fraud. Loyalty evaporated. Why die for an empire that pays you in lies? The legions stopped fighting for Rome and started fighting for plunder. The Praetorian Guard, the emperor's own protectors, took this to its grotesque conclusion. In 193 AD, they murdered the emperor and auctioned the throne of the world to the highest bidder. Think about that. The crown of Augustus, sold like a piece of furniture. When the political heart stops, the body dies. Slowly, this internal disease made the borders undefendable. A state that cannot pay its soldiers cannot man its walls. Over the next 2 centuries, the roads that once carried legions now served as highways for invaders. So when the Visigoths arrived in 410 AD, they didn't break down the door. The hinges had already rusted off. Alaric wasn't conquering a superpower. He was looting a mausoleum. From a poison in the bloodstream, we turn to a pathogen from across an ocean. Tenochtitlan, the capital of the Aztec Triple Alliance. This was not an empire in decline. It was a predator at its absolute peak. Its great temple reeked of incense and blood, a monument to power built on terror. The Aztecs didn't just conquer their neighbors, they harvested them, demanding a tribute of human hearts for their altars. This created a deep, simmering reservoir of pure hatred across the land. Generations waited for revenge. When Hernán Cortés arrived in 1519, he was that chance. He brought steel, horses, and gunpowder, but these were nothing against hundreds of thousands of warriors. Cortés's genius was political. He didn't conquer the Aztecs. He led a massive rebellion of their tortured subjects. The Tlaxcalans and others didn't just help the Spanish. They were the army, outnumbering the conquistadors more than 100 to 1. But even that might not have been enough. The true executioner was invisible. On a Spanish ship, a soldier carried a microscopic stowaway, variola, smallpox. The Aztec people had no immunity, no defense. It was not a war, it was a biological holocaust. The virus ripped through the city like fire. Victims, covered in agonizing pustules, couldn't move, couldn't eat, couldn't even drink. Killed the emperor, killed generals, priests, warriors. It shattered the chain of command and the will to fight. While the Aztecs burned with fever, the Spanish and their Tlaxcalan allies besieged the silent city. The giant wasn't outfought. It was infected from without and torn apart from within. From a microscopic killer to a monster of bronze and iron. Constantinople, the last daughter of Rome. For 1,000 years, the city stood behind the legendary Theodosian walls, a limestone shield that had broken every army that crashed against it. By 1453, the Byzantine Empire was a ghost, a head without a body. But the head still wore the crown. Enter Sultan Mehmed II, 21 years old, brilliant, relentless, obsessed. He knew traditional siege weapons were useless, so he decided to change the laws of war. He hired a Hungarian engineer named Orbán to cast a weapon of nightmares, the Basilica supergun, a 27-foot bronze beast that required 60 oxen to move. It fired a stone ball weighing 1,200 pounds. For 55 days, the sound of that cannon became the city's heartbeat. Boom, a pause, boom. The ancient walls, built for arrows and catapults, started to crumble. But Mem's true masterpiece was even more terrifying. The city's northern harbor, the Golden Horn, was sealed by a massive iron chain. That flank was considered impregnable. So Mem did the impossible. He went over it. In a feat of breathtaking will, he ordered his fleet dragged overland. His men built a road of greased logs. Under the cover of darkness, 70 ships were pulled by thousands of men and oxen, up a hill and down the other side, splashing into the harbor behind the chain. Imagine the horror for the defenders that morning. They looked down and saw enemy sails on the water inside their unbreakable fortress. It was a psychological kill shot. Hope was gone. On May 29, 1453, the final assault began. The giant fell, not to decay, not to disease, but to sheer, overwhelming force, technology, and genius. The Middle Ages ended with that final scream. Rome died of internal organ failure. The Aztecs from an external virus and civil war. Constantinople by blunt force trauma. The lesson is written in the smoke of their ruins. No power is permanent. Security is an illusion. Whether it's the value of your money, the hatred of your subjects, or the technology of your rivals, there is always a weapon searching for the crack in the armor. The giant never sees the blow coming until it's already on its knees.